Oh shit. Here we go again.
Not again!
Yes, unfortunately, the injury bug has snake bitten us again, so let's talk about it. Considering we just got Devin Vassell back from that carryover injury from the end of Wemby's rookie season, and now he's out again. And speaking of Wemby and injuries, he's going to be out for a little bit because, during that Friday game against the Lakers, during the Emirates NBA Cup opener, he and Anthony Davis, banged knees together, even though it looked like he was in good shape when he got up, and then all he wanted was not the attention and the spotlight to be on him with the whole stadium and the rest of the world, staring at him while he was getting checked over. That's why he went into the home team tunnel at SBC Center, but it turns out it's a little bit worse than we thought. So, and considering we were this close to getting Trey Jones back, and Jeremy Sohan ain't coming back for a while, considering we're probably not going to get him back till 2025. So, therefore, it's like we can't win for losing no matter how good or bad we have it, considering, how much potential we have to be better. You know what I'm saying? Considering this year was supposed to be the year we would, get over the hump, break the 5-year drought of not get even touching a smidget of the playoffs. Considering, like I said, 2021 and 22 don't count in my book, only because we should have never been in the play in both years that we were there to begin with. Because keep in mind, 2020, 2021, it was either we belonged in the playoffs or we just didn't belong anywhere at all. Considering, we started off that season clicking on all cylinders after coming off what was our first year missing the playoffs during that COVID-filled year. Well, it wasn't all COVID-filled, because don't forget, we started that 2019-2020 season the first year that there was no Tony Parker in the league. We started off that season 3-0, and that turned out to be a fluke, and then we sucked the rest of the year, and even without COVID in the bubble, we were already headed in a direction where we were going to miss the playoffs for the first time since 1997, Duncan Senior Wake Forest. Except the thing is, in a perfect world, an alternate timeline where the COVID pandemic never happened, which is the equivalent of a timeline where 9/11 never happened. Shout out to Fork in the Road NASCAR, where they have a timeline where 9/11 never happens in 2001, where Dale Earnhardt Sr., Kenny Irwin Jr., and Adam Petty are still alive. But that's a whole another can of worms for another day, another video, another topic. But, in a perfect world where COVID never happens and we don't get the bubble, our first 5 years of a train wreck season ends in April, and we get, majority of spring of 2020, all of summer 2020, away from that grade A horse shit, to the point where, that should have been our summer to get away from it, probably focus on NASCAR full time. But who knows if we would have still focused on NASCAR full time in 2020, because of COVID and the bubble, we ended up taking our Spurs stress into the summer. And, as far as NASCAR goes, that could have been our first year we stopped watching full time, head out the door on Sundays when the weather's good, and, there's beautiful weather's a good reason to not watch racing during the spring, summer months. But unfortunately, that was the last year where I invested my time in a NASCAR every single week, because of COVID, we in the pandemic and the social distancing bullshit, and all those major safety protocols and such, we basically had no choice because we were basically stuck. But don't forget, 2021, the vaccine-filled season, was the first year I stopped watching NASCAR full time. Focus on it just on a part-time basis, and the whole sitting out of all of 2023 except 2 races, that's a whole other tangent of its own. Well, 2020, 2021, that Spurs team, even with, King of shitting it up and all these other vets that had no business being on the team, even with them clogging up the team, we were lucky that rookie Vassell and Trey Jones got a good amount of respectable minutes. So, therefore, you would think to how well we started that season, it gave us false hope, as you all know, to the point where it looked like we were going to make the playoffs in 2021 after 1 year off. But nope, after half the team got hit with COVID, and our games were postponed. Where we ended up getting a little bit of a mini break after after the Daytona 500 when the Spurs played the Hornets during that Daytona 500 rain delay on the day before my birthday on Valentine's Day, and then Jakob Poeltl had a little cough. That cough is probably what gave the team COVID, and I wouldn't say all the team, but it nearly screwed us out of Spurs Cavs for what could have been our first year missing since 2012. But yeah, even if the team never catches COVID, then guess what? Guess what? We would have been screwed out of Spurs Cavs either way. But luckily, the postponement of games was a blessing in disguise because we somehow lucked into those tickets at limited capacity in terms of how many fans were allowed to attend, and we still got to attend. And guess what? The Spurs won, but it was still false hope considering, that was when, we started sandbagging and got into a position where it was either playoffs or no playoffs again. And it turns out it was in between the play-in where we really shouldn't have been. And, we didn't recapture our magic in the first half of that vaccines-filled season. And, we just picked up where I left off from the sandbagging part, lost badly to the Grizzlies. And, I was just ready for that season. I just wanted us to lose out of spite that night, just so the season can be over with. And then the next year, as you all know, it was the exact opposite. We sandbagged to start the year, and don't even get me started on that particular game. I've gone through that hundreds of times. I don't need to go over it again. We decided to go on a tear, to end the season. And it was like they didn't want me to watch in 21-22. Because whenever I would watch, they would, sandbag or shit it up. But as soon as I, get angry and frustrated with the team to the point where I need to take a break, all of a sudden they start going on a tear, especially the end of the season. The way they were going, to the first part of the end of the season, they were going on a tear after I got to a boiling point where I got so angry and frustrated with the team where I needed to take a break from watching, and then they start doing good whenever I'm not watching. It's like they almost didn't want me to watch. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like they didn't want me to watch, and then I come back to finish the season and they go back to shitting it up, and then they go to the play-in to the point where we really had no business being there for the second year in a row. And then it's back to the sandbagging, even though I'm there watching. And needless to say, just like the year before in 2021, 2022, out of spite, I wanted us to lose that season. Another train wreck of a season can be over with. And then 2022-23, that play-in game got me to the ultimate boiling point where I got so angry and frustrated I took that whole Spurs season off, except for the one game against the Cavs here in Ohio, just to keep the streak going, just for the hell of it. And I expected a loss, and that's what we got. That was the only piece of Spurs contact we developed, as we all know. And then, that was really Tankathon 1.0 to get us Wembanyama. And then 2023-24 was Tankathon 2.0, let alone 1.75 for us, considering we were unsure if the league pass renewed itself, considering my mom surprised us where having it renew itself, or probably she renewed it behind our back without us even knowing. And when my sister came to town for what was her Mike Wallace, or in this case Antonio Daniels, Boris D.L. Trey Jones' 33rd birthday, we decided to check the spectrum to see, just for shits and giggles, to see if it renewed itself, and we did. So we decided to finish out the season, other than the two Spurs Cavs games we attended, the one here in Cleveland to keep the streak going, and the one, ironically, it was my dad ironically only chose this game. I thought he chose it on purpose because it was against the Cavs, but that was not the case at all. It just happened to be but coincidentally, the closest one to my birthday, considering the Spurs are never in the SBC Center, their home arena, on my actual birthday, because they're always doing the rodeo road trip, which is why the All-Star game has not been in San Antonio in that arena since, they were in the Alamo Dome back in the 90s, 1996, I think the All-Star game was held in the Alamo Dome, but it hasn't been held in San Antonio since then because of the stupid-ass rodeo. So, and concerning, I think, it was rumored that, the rodeo was going to move somewhere else to, in San Antonio, but that ended up being a lie, considering, I thought it was going to be true to the point where, we could have the All-Star game in the SBC Center, but unfortunately, false hope is what caused us to not have nice things. So, therefore, That was against the Cavs, in San Antonio, where Zach Attack Collins got into that fight with wannabe Kyle and Adam Petty. So 20 seconds left in the game, and so the game was already over at that point. So I can see what the frustration on Zach Attack's part. But anyway, yeah, considering, that was Stinkathon 2.0, and considering, we ended that season really, really well. Like, the last 4 or 5 games we did really good and won. And, it was a tank, it was like, it was basically the shittiest team in the West versus the shittiest team in the East as a tank ball version of the 2005 NBA Finals to end that regular season. The day of the Samsung Radio Shack 500 at Texas Motor Speedway, and after that game ended, I was like, I shut off the TV and went outside in the middle of the race where all hell broke loose, and it would stop spinning and crashing. So, therefore, I'm sorry if I'm rambling and going on a rampage, probably a semi-long rant, but it's just that his team cannot catch a break, even in a year like this season that looked promising, the signing of Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes, and the fact that we were just starting to get healthy and a full squad back with only Vassell and Trey Jones being out, but then Sohan goes down, and then Vassell goes back to being out. I don't know what the fuck's going on with him, and then Wemby has that knee-to-knee collision with Anthony Davis against the Lakers on Friday night, so this team is getting beat up, and I made the right choice to not watch against the Mavericks last night because we got our asses handed to, even without Luka Doncic playing. But, man, I mean, the next game will not be until Tuesday, but it's a 9:30 game on a work night. It's like, no way in hell am I staying up all that. I mean, if it's past 9 o'clock, then I can't, in terms of start time, I just can't. I'm sorry. I mean, I will be able to watch Thursday night against the Jazz in San Antonio at SBC Center, considering it's a respectable start time. It's another NBA Cup game, and this time not on national television. It's with Jacob and Sean, but that stream, I forgot the name of the app again. What the fuck? But anyway, that app that my dad installed on my TV so I could watch all the NBA games, where sadly I think the blackout still applies, so we might be in serious jeopardy like Alex Trebek and Johnny Gilbert, created by Merv Griffin, if they play, if we have to deal with the ramifications of listening to the drunk old bitch ass Austin Carr, considering they might black the Spurs feed out on well, maybe this might apply for national. I'm not 100% sure yet, but it might apply to just nationally televised games. I don't know. I mean, they might still keep it on, even if it keeps it local, with the Spurs play the Cavs in San Antonio, where and it's not on national television. But we'll just have to wait and see, because if it's if we have to deal with the ramifications of the blackout, then I'm gonna be pissed. So therefore, I mean, we got to keep our fingers crossed, because we will not find out until like April, towards the end of the regular season. So we can only find out we have plenty of time to find out till then. But anyway, I mean, we can always experiment it with other teams. We can always go in the app, and whenever the Cavs play another team, and it's on local, and all just local, not nationally televised, we can experiment with it. But why don't we just wait till Thursday to experiment, if the Spurs feed with Jacob and Sean will work. And if it doesn't work again like it did against the Wizards when Wemby was kicking ass and scored 50 points, then we'll call my dad, we'll get a hold of the guy who gave us the app, and then we'll just go from there. But anyway, so therefore I just wanted to give my personal thoughts and feelings on this whole injury bug situation with the Spurs, and anyway, there's only one more thing we got to talk about. So as you all know, Coach Pop, had a mild stroke at SBC Center on November 2nd, 2 days after Halloween, and luckily they caught it immediately, because the Spurs players were there when it happened. And he did address the media today, and he's sounded like he was in great shape based off the interview they gave him, and he said for the players to not worry about him. When he's back on the bench, he's back on the bench. His way of saying, you never know when I'm back on the bench. It'll be when you least expect it. It'll be a complete surprise. So he could be back anytime whenever he's ready and feels like he's healthy enough. So therefore, I'm glad we got to hear from him today, even though I slept all day, considering this is the first Sunday without NASCAR and a Sunday where the Spurs don't play. So they don't play till Tuesday. Again, that's too late. 9:30 is way too late considering it's TNT and not with Jacob and Sean. So therefore, it's the second game of a TNT doubleheader with the NBA Cup. So we're just gonna wait till Thursday to experiment, see if Jacob and Sean works. But if it doesn't, we'll call my dad, and then guess what? We'll have my dad or mom contact the guy who gave us that app, and I think it's called GenPlay or something like that. I have to double check, but then we'll just go from there. But anyway, Coach Pop, we're praying for you, bud. You're the longest tenured coach in the NBA, especially with one team. 29 of 30, almost 31 years I live. You've been coach of this team since the middle of Duncan's senior year at Wake Forest when you as a general manager fired Bob Hill. But here's the thing, though. I remember one of the reporters asked Ms. Johnson if Wemby will get to play longer than normal since Pop's not around to say no. Well, what if Pop is watching you? So, Mitch Johnson, if I were you, even if you wanted to, be careful how you manage the role as coach, considering you're normally the assistant coach and have been since the first year we didn't have Tim Duncan to retirement. Because not only is Pop the coach, nor is usually the coach, but just like when he fired Bob Hill in 96, 97 to make himself the head coach, he's also the general manager. So he has the ability and the right to fire you from home if, go behind his back and do what he doesn't like, even if he's not there. So, and even if he's not watching you or has no way of secretly, keeping an eye on you and monitoring you, what if you do something that, you normally wouldn't do when he's there, and then someone, remembers, is consistent with how he runs things, and then one of the players, let's say, and then he tells Pop what Mitch Johnson did behind his back just because he wasn't there to say no. Pop could, call Mitch Johnson and fire his ass from home. So therefore, if I were Mitch Johnson, you can do things your way all you want differently than Pop, but at the same time, be mindful at the same time where you also don't go against, Pop's way of doing coaching, because, just because you have the ability to do things your way doesn't mean you should also go against Pop's way of doing things either. So, I mean, sometimes in some industries, there's a right way to do things, there's a wrong way to do things, and sometimes the third option is there's no right or wrong way. It's just a certain just people do things different ways from each other, which goes to show you another example of how everybody's different and does things in many different ways, and also has their own personal preferences or what they like or don't like or how they like to do things and all the whole shebang like Ricky Martin. So so Mitch Johnson's doing a good job. So we look forward to having Pop back with us really, really soon. So it was his first time addressing the media since he suffered that stroke. Considering, keep in mind, the last thing I'll say is he is not getting any younger. He's in his mid-70s, and this is not the first time, he's had health problems, considering, remember back in 2014, I don't know if it was during the championship year, the fifth championship, or if it was during the first half of the next season, the Duncan second to last year. But he had some kind of a heart problem, which, according to Larry Brown, who ironically used to be Pop's assistant coach, even before I was born, considering, Larry Brown used to coach the Spurs before Pop, but way before he coached the Pistons, considering, that heart problem think, Mark, think, how you going to word this? What that heart problem was this close to sending Pop into retirement, but he lucked out. God was with him every step of the way that back then, and allowed him to keep coaching up to this point. So if God was with him then, so then guess what? He's with them now. So therefore, prayers to Coach Pop. The next Spurs game we're gonna tune in will be Thursday after we stack them up like Kenny Wallace with Coca-Cola at bowling for more fun and games. So this will be our first time going bowling since before we got sick, 2 weeks prior to that. I mean, wasn't, no, because Halloween was the week before, which is why there was no bowling in library. So, therefore, the week before Halloween was the last time I went bowling. So, this week will be my first time since then when I'll get to go. So, therefore, So tomorrow at morning, before we wake up, and start the last week before Thanksgiving, look for the like 6:15. Well, we're like 5:15 before our alarm goes off for us to wake up. Look for some Sandy Ridge end of year highlights that you already can find on TikTok, but YouTube will get a taste of it for the first time at 6:15 in the morning tomorrow, before 15 minutes before you wake up. But I just wanted to get this video out here before we release that one. So have a good night tonight and a better day tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Good night. I will see you all for the next video, other than the Sandy Ridge end of season highlights. So whatever that may be, whether it be we wait till the next Spurs game to tune in on Thursday, or anytime be in between this and the Sandy Ridge end of 2024 end of season highlights, whether it's in between this and that, and this video and tomorrow morning's video, and the next Spurs game, or if we decide not to upload anything until we tune into our next Spurs game on Thursday. See you later, everyone. Go Spurs, go! Prayers for Coach Pop. Get well soon.
This copyrighted broadcast of the National Basketball Association may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the express written consent of the NBA.